Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Learn and Talk podcast. I'm Emma Collins, and today's episode is all about thinking differently every day and using English conversations to shape your mind fast. Daniel, this topic feels powerful and practical at the same time.
Absolutely, Emma. The way we think directly affects how we speak, learn, and grow. When learners change their thinking patterns, their English improves faster and more naturally.
Many English learners study grammar and vocabulary, but they don't focus on how language shapes their mindset. Why is that a mistake?
Because language is not just communication, it's a thinking tool. The sentences you repeat daily influence your confidence, focus, and learning speed. Today, we'll show listeners how modern English conversations can reprogram their thinking in a positive way.
That sounds exciting. And listeners, if you want to think differently, speak confidently, and learn English faster, make sure you like this video and leave a comment telling us what mindset you want to improve.
Your likes and comments help this lesson reach more learners around the world.
Let's begin today's conversation and start shaping a stronger, smarter mindset through English. Daniel, many English learners repeat the same thoughts every day, such as English is difficult or I'm not confident when I speak. These thoughts seem to limit their progress. How can thinking differently every day help learners improve their English faster? Can English conversations really reshape the way people think? I would love for you to explain how changing internal dialogue through English sentences, grammar structures, and daily expressions can influence confidence, motivation, and learning speed.
Emma, this question goes straight to the heart of language learning because thoughts are built with language. When learners repeat negative sentences internally, they reinforce mental barriers. For example, the sentence "English is difficult" uses the present simple tense, which expresses a fixed belief. This makes the difficulty feel permanent. To think differently, learners must change both the message and the grammar. A more effective sentence would be, "English is challenging, but I am learning step by step." This sentence introduces contrast using but, which shifts the mindset from limitation to progress. The present continuous tense, "I am learning," emphasizes growth rather than a final result. English conversations also reshape thinking by training learners to focus on meaning instead of perfection. For example, instead of thinking, "I must speak perfectly," learners can adopt the phrase, "My goal is to communicate clearly." This sentence uses simple sentence structure, reducing pressure and increasing fluency. Another powerful technique is reframing through vocabulary choice. Words like difficult, bad, or slow can be replaced with challenging, improving, or in progress. For example, "My pronunciation is improving." This sentence uses the present continuous tense and a positive adjective to reinforce confidence. Daily English conversations also encourage active thinking. When learners ask themselves questions such as, "How can I explain this idea differently?" they engage higher-level thinking skills. This builds flexibility and creativity in both language and mindset. Grammar structures like the future simple tense are also powerful. Saying, "I will speak more confidently with practice," programs expectation and commitment. Modal verbs such as can and will reinforce ability and determination. In short, thinking differently every day means choosing better sentences, better grammar patterns, and better expressions. When learners upgrade their internal English conversations, they reshape their mindset, and faster English progress naturally follows.
Daniel, many learners understand that mindset matters, but they struggle to practice it consistently. They want to think differently, but daily stress and distractions pull them back into old habits. How can learners use simple English conversations in their daily routine to shape their mindset without feeling overwhelmed? Can you explain how short dialogues, common phrases, and basic grammar structures can create lasting mental change?
Emma, consistency is the key, and the secret is simplicity. Thinking differently every day does not require long study sessions. It requires repetition of the right language. Simple English conversations are extremely effective because they are easy to remember and repeat. One practical method is daily self-dialogue in English. For example, learners can start the day by saying, "Today, I will focus on progress, not perfection." This sentence uses the future simple tense, which sets intention and direction. Another habit is using present simple tense for routines, such as, "I practice English every day." This structure reinforces identity and discipline. Over time, the brain accepts this statement as truth. Short conversational phrases also help during stressful moments. Instead of saying, "I'm bad at English," learners can say, "I'm still learning." The word still signals ongoing development and reduces emotional pressure. Grammar awareness helps reduce overwhelm. Learners should prioritize clear, simple sentence structures rather than complex grammar. For example, "I understand the main idea." This sentence uses subject, verb, object order, which is easy to control and builds confidence. Another effective technique is reflection at the end of the day. Learners can say or write, "Today, I practiced and made progress." This uses the past simple tense to recognize effort, not perfection. By repeating these short conversations daily, learners slowly replace negative thinking patterns with constructive ones. Language repetition reshapes mental habits, and those habits create long-term confidence and consistency.
Daniel, many learners want to think differently and speak confidently in real conversations, but they feel nervous when speaking with others. How can English conversations help learners change their mindset in social or professional situations? Can you explain how thinking differently affects speaking speed, confidence, and clarity, and how learners can use specific phrases and grammar structures to sound calm and confident even under pressure?
Emma, real conversations are where mindset becomes visible. When learners think differently, they speak differently. Nervous speakers often rush, apologize, or overthink grammar. A strong mindset encourages calm, intentional speech. One key change is replacing apology-based language. Instead of saying, "Sorry, my English is not good," learners can say, "English is not my first language, but I can explain my idea." This sentence uses contrast, but, and a modal verb, can, which signals confidence. Thinking differently also affects speaking speed. Confident speakers use pauses, not fillers. Phrases like, "Let me think for a moment," are called discourse markers, and they help speakers stay calm and organized. Grammar simplicity is essential under pressure. Sentences like, "My opinion is," "I agree because," use present simple tense, which is direct and powerful. Complex grammar is not necessary for confident communication. Mindset also influences clarity. Learners who think clearly choose short, structured sentences. For example, "The main point is this." This guides the listener and reduces anxiety. Daily mindset training should include spoken practice. Learners can practice sentences such as, "I can express my ideas clearly." This sentence uses a modal verb and positive affirmation, reinforcing belief through repetition. In conclusion, English conversations shape mindset by training calm thinking, clear structure, and confident expression. When learners think differently, their speech becomes slower, clearer, and more effective. This mental shift allows English learners to communicate naturally and confidently in any situation.
Daniel, many learners say they want to think differently every day, but their environment doesn't support them. They hear negative news, work under pressure, or spend time with people who don't encourage English learning. Over time, this affects their mindset and the way they speak English. How can learners protect their mindset and continue shaping their thinking positively through English conversations, even when their surroundings are stressful or negative? Can you explain how daily language choices, grammar patterns, and intentional English conversations can help learners stay mentally strong and focused on growth?
Emma, this is a very real challenge because environment strongly influences mindset, but language can act as a shield. When learners intentionally choose their English conversations, both internal and external, they can protect their thinking even in negative surroundings. The first step is awareness of internal dialogue. Many learners unconsciously repeat sentences like, "I'm too tired to practice," or "This is pointless." These sentences use the present simple tense, which makes negativity feel permanent. A healthier alternative is, "I feel tired, but I can still practice a little." This sentence introduces contrast using but, allowing effort despite difficulty. Learners should also create mental safe spaces through English. For example, repeating sentences such as, "My progress depends on my actions, not my environment." This sentence uses cause and effect structure, reinforcing control and responsibility. Vocabulary selection matters greatly. Negative environments often use absolute words like never, always, or impossible. Learners should consciously replace these with flexible words such as sometimes, improving, and possible. For example, speaking English is sometimes challenging, but it's getting easier. This sentence combines adverbs of frequency with a positive progression. Daily English conversations can also be intentional. Learners might ask themselves reflective questions like, "What did I learn today?" or "How did I improve?" These questions stimulate metacognitive thinking, which strengthens mindset and self-awareness. Grammar can reinforce stability. Using present continuous tense, "I am building confidence," emphasizes ongoing development, even when external conditions are unstable. Finally, learners should end the day with affirmative statements in the past simple tense, such as, "Today, I stayed consistent." This reinforces achievement and emotional resilience. In summary, learners don't need a perfect environment to think differently. By controlling their English conversations, grammar choices, and vocabulary, they can protect their mindset and continue shaping positive thinking every day.
Daniel, many learners want to think differently and speak more confidently, but they worry about sounding unnatural or making mistakes in conversations. This fear often stops them from speaking at all. How can English conversations help learners shift from fear-based thinking to confidence-based thinking? Can you explain how changing mindset affects fluency and how learners can use specific phrases, grammar structures, and speaking habits to sound natural while still learning?
Emma, this fear is extremely common, and it comes from a misunderstanding. Fluency is not the same as perfection. A fear-based mindset focuses on mistakes, while a confidence-based mindset focuses on communication. English conversations are the bridge between the two. Let's look at language patterns. Fear-based speakers often think, "If I make a mistake, people will judge me." This sentence uses a first conditional structure, but it predicts a negative outcome. A mindset shift changes it to, "If I make a mistake, I can correct it and continue." This uses the same grammar but produces a positive expectation. Another important shift is replacing apology-driven phrases. Instead of, "Sorry, I don't speak well," learners can say, "I'm learning, and I'll explain my idea." This sentence uses coordination and a future-oriented verb, will, which sounds confident and proactive. Speaking habits also matter. Confident speakers use short, complete sentences, such as, "That's my opinion," "This is my experience." These sentences use the present simple tense, which is strong, clear, and natural. Mindset affects fluency speed. When learners stop mentally translating and focus on meaning, speech becomes smoother. Using phrases like, "What I mean is," or "Let me say it another way," allows flexibility and reduces pressure. These are discourse management phrases, commonly used by fluent speakers. Daily mindset practice should include spoken affirmations, such as, "I can communicate even if my English is not perfect." This sentence uses a modal verb, can, and removes unrealistic expectations. In conclusion, English conversations reshape mindset by shifting attention from fear to function. When learners focus on expressing ideas instead of avoiding mistakes, fluency improves naturally. Confidence grows not from perfect grammar, but from repeated, meaningful communication, and that is how learners begin to think and speak differently every day.
Daniel, many English learners say they understand the idea of thinking differently, but when they speak English, they still translate from their native language. This slows them down and makes them feel insecure. They often say, "I know what I want to say, but I can't say it fast enough." How can learners change the way they think in English instead of translating, and how does this mental shift help shape a stronger mindset? Can you explain how English conversations, sentence patterns, and grammar awareness can help learners think directly in English and feel more confident when speaking?
Emma, this is a critical stage in language learning because thinking in English is a mindset skill, not just a language skill. Translation creates hesitation because the brain is doing double work. A powerful daily mindset helps learners trust simple English structures and focus on meaning rather than perfection. The first step is learning to use ready-made sentence patterns, also called chunks. For example, Instead of translating a complex sentence, learners can rely on patterns like, "I think that," "in my opinion," "the reason is." These phrases use present simple tense and are extremely flexible. When learners use them repeatedly, the brain retrieves them automatically, reducing translation. Grammar awareness also helps reduce fear. Learners often think they need advanced grammar to sound intelligent. In reality, confident speakers use clear subject, verb, object structures, such as, "I prefer working alone." This sentence is simple, direct, and natural. Another mindset shift is accepting approximate language. Learners should think, "I don't need the perfect word, I need a clear word." For example, it's a kind of tool for communication. This sentence uses a definition strategy, which fluent speakers use all the time. Thinking differently also means trusting the present continuous tense to describe real-time thoughts. "I'm thinking about another option." This keeps the learner connected to the moment instead of mentally translating. Daily speaking habits strengthen this mindset. Learners can narrate simple actions. "I'm opening my laptop." "I'm preparing my notes." This builds automatic thinking in English without pressure. Finally, learners should use supportive self-talk, such as, "I can think in English with practice." This sentence uses a modal verb, can, reinforcing belief and ability. In summary, when learners stop translating and start trusting simple English structures, their mindset becomes calmer and more confident. English conversations then feel natural, fast, and mentally freeing.
Daniel, many learners say they want English to become a natural part of their thinking, not something they only practice during study time. They want English to influence how they plan their day, solve problems, and make decisions. How can learners use English conversations to think differently throughout the day, even when they are not speaking to anyone? Can English really shape decision-making and problem-solving skills, and what types of phrases, grammar structures, or daily language habits support this kind of mental transformation?
Emma, this is where English becomes a thinking tool, not just a communication tool. When learners use English internally, they begin to shape clarity, logic, and emotional control. This is one of the fastest ways to build a powerful mindset. Let's start with planning language. Learners can plan their day using English sentences like, "First, I will finish my task. Then, I will practice English." This uses sequencing adverbs and the future simple tense, which helps structure thinking logically. English also supports decision-making through conditional sentences. For example, "If I practice today, I will feel more confident." This first conditional structure connects actions with consequences, reinforcing responsible thinking. Problem-solving improves when learners describe problems clearly. Instead of emotional thinking, learners can say, "The problem is time management." This sentence uses noun focus, which creates emotional distance and clarity. Daily internal conversations can include reflection. What is the best solution here? This question form activates analytical thinking in English. Grammar simplicity is essential. Learners should avoid complex mental language and use direct sentences like, "This option is better." Comparative adjectives help learners evaluate choices calmly and logically. English also helps emotional regulation. Phrases like, "I need a moment to think," or "This is manageable," help reduce stress and maintain control. These sentences use present simple tense, which stabilizes thinking. Finally, learners should end the day with reflection in English. "Today, I handled challenges calmly." This uses the past simple tense and reinforces emotional growth. In conclusion, English can shape how learners think, plan, decide, and solve problems. By using simple grammar, intentional phrases, and daily internal conversations, learners train their minds to be clearer, calmer, and more confident, thinking differently every day through English. O'Day's episode showed us that learning English is not only about grammar and vocabulary, it's about thinking differently every day. When learners change the sentences they use, they change the way they think, feel, and act.
We learned that English conversations can shape mindset by replacing fear with confidence, confusion with clarity, and hesitation with purpose. Simple grammar structures like the present simple for habits, the present continuous for growth, and the future tense for goals help learners stay focused and consistent.
We discussed how thinking in English reduces translation, builds fluency, and strengthens confidence. Using clear sentence patterns, common phrases, and positive self-talk allows learners to speak naturally without pressure.
English also becomes a tool for planning, decision-making, and problem-solving. Daily internal conversations, short reflections, and intentional language habits help learners stay calm and motivated, even in difficult environments.
Most importantly, progress comes from consistency, not perfection. Every small conversation, every simple sentence, and every mindset shift matters.
Keep thinking differently, keep speaking bravely, and keep shaping your mind through English with Learn and Talk podcast.